Welcome to the Art of Conscious Living. Today is a very special show. We are going to talk together as a group here, and we're going to be on an experiential of what it would be like to be an example for others, of what it would be like to be building community with others. And my guests today are Berenice Meza and Shiloh Boss and Danielle Holman. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So let's start with, actually, we have a world that is living in a computer age and an information age, and there's a lot of individualism going on where there's not very much of connection to others. So I would like to speak about what it would be like to be a role model so others could see that. Let's say there's, in the audience, there's a lot of single women or married couples that are both working. Berenice, what would that be like to give them an example of you being a single parent, or are you a single parent? No. You are married and you have a son?
Yes.
Okay. So let's speak from that level of what you would like to share with others and the best example of what it would be like to build a family together.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk about what it would look like for me. I think that now, as a new mother, I have a son who's 5 months old, and I start to think about how this world is going to impact and mold his decisions and a lot of even just his expectations from people. I believe if we're going to talk about media and the internet and how those have been mediums for violence and for promoting behavior that I wouldn't feel proud of. How about if we were to focus on making it a way to connect with people in a positive way? So instead of tackling it as it's a bad thing, it's not, steer away from it, people just use it for no good, or it promotes this and that. Let's be a part of it and be a part of this cyber media, but in a positive way, and enable people to connect with each other, people that might feel that maybe in their community it's hard for them to reach out in person as somebody, maybe because they just don't want to expose themselves in that way, to know that there's places in the internet, or whether it's a chat group or even Facebook, mediums like that, that they know they can reach out for support. And for me as a mother, I think that would be really important for my son to know that, yes, us as parents were there for him, but I'm also fully aware that, I'm not so old myself. I just, remember being young not too long ago, thinking there's certain things I don't want to talk to my parents about, but I would like to know that there's people that would listen to me, and maybe I can share those experiences with them. So I would love my son to know that there's, aside from us, people out there that would also willing to listen and not judge him in his decisions, not try to fix him, not try to tell him how to live, but just listen. And maybe in that experience of him being willing to share or express whatever is in his mind, that he can find his own answers for himself.
Well, as a parent, you would want to guide him, to introduce him to what he's going to be exposed to.
Yes.
So it starts, how old is your son right now?
5 months.
Okay, he's 5 months.
Yeah.
So in the next couple of years, the cartoons that he's going to start to watch, are you going to be involved in that, or should you be involved with that right from the very, very onset, at the earliest age?
Yeah. So if I'm very honest with you, I live my life not in a way of excluding myself from experiences. I want to be exposed to all of it so that I can make decisions for myself. I don't like to be told what to do. Sometimes that it kind of fuels or ignites something in me to want to go the other direction. So with that in mind, I definitely want to be conscious of what my son watches at a young age, but I don't want to exclude him from an experience as a child from other kids or from shows that other kids might be watching, and then create a separation in that way of, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, but to be able to be in conversation with me, ask questions, whether it is, I don't know, because I'm a new mom and I don't know what are some of the popular shows, but I'm just going to bring it back to me, like Tom and Jerry, for instance, and it's just a cat chasing a mouse. But I remember I had questions like, what is that and why is he acting that way? I want to be engaged in those conversations with my son. I want him to feel safe to ask questions and not feel stupid, not feel that I'm going to shame him even if he's asked that question before. So I think that as a parent, I would want to support him in his process, but I don't want to exclude him or shelter him in such a way that after his years with me, all of a sudden it's overwhelming to realize that the world is different, or to create that disconnect that if he was to experience something that I don't talk about at home, that he feels he can't trust me to talk about it, or that it's not safe, or that I might shame him. So I want to be able to say, hey, here's the world, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about what is it that you want to do. Do you like that? Or, and of course, as an adult in his life, tell him what I believe is good for him or positive influence in his life. But of course, I also want him to make decisions for himself.
Mm-hmm. So what would be those pillars of being the positive in one's life?
Well, I definitely want to establish a foundation of his support system, to know his parents will be there no matter what. Of course, I am, a firm believer of manifestation, but we don't have control of what's going to happen. So I would love to make a commitment to him that his family will be there no matter what. Also, to establish good relationships and teach him how to be in relationship, how to be a good friend, how to be loyal, and what does loyalty really look like? Does loyalty look like maybe standing up and saying you don't agree sometimes? Does it look like maybe conflict resolution? Because a lot of times I feel that a lot of the good basic communication, positive skills, because of fear of it feeling awkward or it feeling a little challenging, we steer away from it, and then the disconnect happens. So I want to establish at a young age, communication skills. Ask the hard questions. The worst that could happen is that somebody might say, I'm not ready to answer that right now. So, but continue to be curious and continue to know where those mediums are, who are the people he can trust, who are his true friends, and also, teach him a path in school, like what is it that you want to do and become, and kind of have that foundation with him too.
Well, it sounds like a very powerful platform of experiential, and to know that he can be there with you completely, and there's no restrictions, and it's wide open, and very beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Shiloh, what are your thoughts on having a relationship as a young woman today and with your loved one, and being in the world today with him and communicating with him, loving him, and fostering a beautiful possibilities?
Yeah, so this idea of how do we go about building the life we want and creating that with the people that matter to us, is that where we're at?
Yes, on your level.
Yeah, on my level. So I think a lot of it is, I guess a couple of things are coming to mind, is this idea of, and this is true for me in my personal life, my personal relationship and relationships, my community, but also I'm hungry for it more in the world, and it's that idea of authenticity and creating spaces, moments in time, special space where we can check in and connect and communicate authentically, and know that we're safe, know that our perspective is allowed, and that we can sort of free ourselves from whatever might be wearing on us. And we just literally are liberated simply by that act of authenticity and that act of being seen and recognized without judgment. That creates a sense of belonging and a sense of safety. And then from there, I can dream. From there, I can tap into my creativity and imagine, what do I really want out of life? What really matters to me? So authenticity and creating those moments when we call it drop-ins. I have regular powwows with my beloved when we're just saying, hey, how's everything going between us? How's everything? What's alive for you? Well, I actually really wish that you were sharing more of your inner world with me. Oh, okay. Well, actually, I'm really kind of stressed out and I'm barely managing it myself, so it's hard to even talk about it or something, right? These moments where we have powwows. We have professional powwows every once in a while where we talk about what's going on in our professional arena and things that we might be challenged by, where we want to grow and learn and expand, goals that we want to set for ourselves. And that idea of being authentic, dreaming together, and then also planning. Actually, well, let's go ahead and set goals for ourselves. And sometimes the goals that we make are that we want to get out of bed early, or maybe we want to stay in bed more, or all of these different things. But really, that authenticity and the space to share from the heart and really what's going on for us and dreaming, that's where it starts. And from there, we can act accordingly.
Well, let's speak to the facts that in a conventional world here, that there's so much energy focused on what relationships should be like, what a conventional relationship is, and how does one detangle themselves from that and really claim their own?
Right? Like, that's a good question. I'm living that one. How do I entangle myself from the classic conditioning, right? Wow, yeah, golly. How do I? Right. I don't know the answer, but I'm living the question. And that process of really noticing and checking out, well, how is this serving me? How is this question serving me? Who am I when I'm actually living out this kind of concept or this belief or this story? How do I show up? And is it fun? Is it producing the results that I want? Does it feel like it's real? Does it feel like the other person is able to show up real with them? But that's a great question. I would pose it to other people.
But there's really, and listening to you, there's really nothing to do. It's really just witnessing and experiencing. And in that, it speaks to you in volumes.
And making space, too. I think that there is something to do there, is making the space. Because in our current world, I mean, I have to, and I think, for me, I'm of the perspective that actually, if we want to have the kind of love relationships and the families that probably make our hearts sing, that probably make everyone's hearts sing, that I think we actually have to be warriors, really. We have to fight or endure, really kind of put our arms, really sometimes put our foot down and say, no, I'm not going to work that much, or no, I'm not going to buy into that drama. Instead, I'm going to make the space to actually check out what's real. And there is something to do there. Yeah.
From what I know of you, Shiloh, and what I've seen is this high level of integrity and authenticity are two qualities that I see in you, that you just live, that I think carries you through those places.
Yeah, even if it's ugly too, right?
Right. It's like being willing to bear that and open oneself up to the things that seem ugly or maybe shameful or whatever, and then have that break into a new space of clarity and exaltedness.
Well, from my experience, there's two sets of people in the world, and there may be a third now. And that would be, as the shift is happening, as we've spoke about before, there's the people who are fear-based and love-based, and then there's the people who are possibly going back and forth between the two. But there's the greatest emphasis that there's people who are fear-based. It's the people who are, the glass is half full and half empty. So they're thinking the glass is half empty. It's an attitude that they have that basically everything around them is oppressive, everything that they can't do. There's an energy that is basically, it's everything is negative, is guiding them. The love-based people, they see everything as being very positive and actually very experiential, and everything is okay, and they're witnessing, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, it's all there to serve them for better understanding, to find the wisdom in everything. So Daniel, let's speak on this.
Well, you know, what comes to mind is this experience that I had. It's one of those like triumph of the heart type experiences that we treasure in our lives, and it happened a couple of nights ago. I went over to a friend's house, a dear friend, and I was bringing some gifts, some love tokens, and when I arrived, she was at the computer and gave a little signal like that to not be interrupted, like. But anyway, so she didn't come and greet me, and then a moment later, I said something, and she barked out, "Why are you talking to me?" You know, like. And to me, I just had misunderstood how long I was supposed to not say anything. I thought it was just she was just saying that that's why she wasn't coming over. But anyway, she didn't like being interrupted. So I waited a moment, and then I said, well, we need to talk about this, you know, because that was like a hurtful communication, and so. I said, there's never really a need for that degree of like contempt and harshness in relating in us. And, you know, we went on a little bit, and she kept giving these kind of excuses and disagreeing, or, you know, having her side of it and stuff. And I just held her, and I just said, you know, it's what's more important is than the interruption of something is the human relations that are going on. And there's never a need for that. And just held the space, and instead of like reacting in kind and saying, oh, I'm hurt, so I'm going to hurt her back, or I'm going to make her feel sorry for me by pouting or by acting out in some way, which is what the common responses are for something like that. There's all these different antics that people go through to kind of have this tit-for-tat type of little power plays and hurting each other in little ways. And I've done that, I don't like that, and it's like, well, there's other ways. There's tools like nonviolent communication. Well, this wasn't using any tools, it was just like instinctual. But I left for a moment to go do a little sauna thing, and came back, and she was apologized and all in her heart, and had a little breakthrough, and it was just a wonderful experience to not get into that trap of it's a type of violence, only it's just like emotional violence, and to trust that there's other ways. Even like I didn't know what I was doing, I wasn't using any techniques or anything. I was just committed to let's like stop this, and let's stay in our hearts. Let's make that be our priority. And it worked tremendously, and we talked about it more afterwards. And it was just very sweet and heartfelt, and one of those little experiences. And these types of things, I think that we can do that because the opportunities come up all the time. We can do it every day, some version of that, you know.
Well, that's very beautiful.
There's no shortage of those incidences that happen.
Right.
You know.
It's about being sensitive in the moment and not letting those little casual moments go by, because every moment is a golden moment of truth and wisdom and beauty.
I could have just ignored it, just let it go, because it wasn't a big deal. It really wasn't a big deal. But then I thought, it's enough to like, it's like, let's seize this opportunity, like go deeper with this.
I think that's a beautiful example of what Shiloh was speaking to, of enabling or creating a space for people to just be. A lot of times if we're responsive of the reaction, because a lot of times it's just a reaction, it's not truly what's happening, the argument, or whatever the details are on the response mechanisms that we have with communication with each other. A lot of times it's just a reaction. Somebody presses a button, it goes into a different way, and all of a sudden we're saying things we're regretting. And if we just allow it to just be and create that space where people have those breakthroughs or just that moment to release that emotion or that tension, then we're able to see beyond it and find the resolution, or just feel like, I don't even know what happened in that moment, but I didn't even really feel that. It just happened. I needed to get rid of it, and now we can talk about whatever. I think it's important for us to always acknowledge and truly accept people as a whole, not just the great things that we do or our wisdom and our experiences that mold us as the people that we are, but also like our crust. As my husband likes to say, like, you gotta love the crust on people. There's things that people might be working at, and we gotta love them for that, because those are opportunities for us to show up bigger. The way, and I think Deepak Chopra is who actually I read it from, is that people that trigger you in some way, whether it's something that you're just like, oh, I'm annoyed by that person, or something happens in you with certain behavior, they're your teachers. They're there to enable you to show up bigger. Well, that's an opportunity. Like, how are you going to tackle this one? Or are you not going to? Are you going to just let this one slide and take on the next? Because there's, like you said, many opportunities. But I think it's beautiful to pinpoint those moments in life where we get to rise to the occasion.
Well said. Yeah. And to tell you the truth, while she was like kind of resisting at first, I was a little bit scared. It was not easy.
Right.
But it was important to me to accomplish a breakthrough. And
I think a key word here, Danielle, is vulnerability.
Yeah.
And courage.
And courage, thank you.
And commitment, two C words.
Yes.
And then it got the desired result, which was a deepening of the heart.
Yeah. And it's in those moments where we realize whether we're committed, whether it's to a son or to a loved one, if we're willing to work through those things with each other, then we are committed to each other. Because it is, in the past for me, when I'm in a relationship, in those moments, if I'm not committed to that person, I'm like, okay, you're on your own. That one's challenging for me. I don't really want to go there with you. But if we realize, no, it's important to me and it's important to them to work through it, then you realize how committed you are to each other.
Well, we just have a few moments. And in closing, what is very dear to your heart that you would like to share, Shiloh, with others?
Well, I'm just feeling really touched by that notion of commitment, and how I think part of the big shift is that some of the work that the foundation of the work that I do is coming out of the dead universe story and into the living universe story. And in the dead universe story, everything's dwindling down to entropy, and you can throw things away and all of that, and you can jock for position, and not everything has a place and a part. But in the living universe story, everything does have a place and a part. And that sense of that commitment, and really knowing that we're not expendable, that we need each other and that we're committed to that quality of connection. And I heard that in your story too, that we're committed to that quality of connection, and we want we really choose a high quality of connection. It's about our connection. So that's what's touching me now.
And in that livingness, there's a liveness of oneself. Absolutely. Does anybody else have any final thoughts that they'd like to share?
Well, I'm really appreciating the articulation quality of all you women. I feel like I have deep seeing and deep clear understandings of things, but I kind of fumble for words sometimes, and it's just a real inspirational and feels really good to be around such fluent articulation. So thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
Thank
that
you.
story.
Well, from the art of conscious living, do take care of yourselves and take care of others. Thank you.